Welcome back to Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Chat Network. I'm your host Nico, and joining with me today, as always, my co-host Chris. How you doing?
Hey, not too bad. Coming to you from my summer studio here, having a nice bright day.
That's right. Coffee cups and all, guys. No.
Did a special episode here.
That's
Not
right.
going to be fogged up by the brain beer or the beer brain.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's right, guys. We're actually recording a little earlier than usual today, just due to our schedules. Yeah, I got a comic one too. I got the Joker from the Heath Ledger Joker cup here.
Sure that's not the new Joker 2 movie one. Here's not doing so good.
No, it's not. I've yet to see it, and I don't plan on it. I think Christine's going to go check it out at some point, but listen, if you're a Gaga fan, maybe it's a musical, so maybe there's something good there. I don't know, but anyways, if you can see, that ray of sunshine here beaming in from over here, it's because we are recording during the day here, due to our schedules here. And by the time you watch this, it may be just before or on Thanksgiving. If you're from Canada here, this is our Thanksgiving weekend, so I hope you guys are all having a great Thanksgiving out there if you're celebrating. And thanks for tuning in to Comic Shop Talk, our weekly comic book review show here. And episode 149, 150's next. Big milestone there. Yeah, that's crazy. So this is our weekly comic book review show. You tune in here to hear what we want, have to say about the comics that we read each week, and we show off some of the art, talk about some other comic book news sometimes, tell you what we're looking forward to picking up in the future. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You can check out our playlist here. All kinds of episodes there to check out, and other comic content as well, and other types of shows on the Late Night Chat Network. Go check them out, our whole playlist. And today we're going to be talking about the new comics that came out for the week of October 9th, 2024. And spoiler warning, as always, like I said, if you're worried about getting spoiled, because we are going to be talking about the books and showing them off, then maybe, come back and tune in another day if you need to. I feel I'm just off my rhythm here today. You're like, yeah, I'm better in the morning here. I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
We'll see how the show goes.
I need that beer. I haven't drank the whole coffee yet, so let's see. All right, guys. That all being said, Chris,
All right, let's talk comics.
talk some comics.
Cheers.
Oh, there we go. Need another sip of that. All right. First up on the docket here today, big book this week, selling out all over the place. This is what's it called? Absolute Batman. Yeah, I almost called it All Star Batman, which was a thing as well. So
This Ultimate Batman.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got the Nick Dragotta cover under here as well. I got that one there, but I had to get the Wes Craig variant because I'm a huge fan of him, and he's been doing a lot of variants for DC now because he was on that issue from last week, the All In. So, all right, Chris, what'd you think of this?
I'm glad we started out with this comic. A lot of good things to say about this comic. The art's crazy inside, good stuff. This new Batman here, I'm kind of digging it. His giant size there and everything, and he's got some crazy weapons. That I guess they spoiled that axe on his chest, but I really did like his batarangs in his ears, or I think they were batarangs. I thought they were knives at one point, and just the battle, I guess, with those party animals. That seemed to be some good stuff. That's some highlights of this comic. The stuff they do with Alfred, that's interesting, but I could take it or leave it. They got him a little too high strung here as I don't know, some MI6 operative or something or whatever he is. But I just didn't need to be beaten over the head with another origin story right off the bat. They could have saved that for a few issues down the road. I was more interested in seeing what this new world is going to be like. I wish they sort of spent more time on that. And after reading all this All In, the All In special and all that, and this whole world is supposed to be imbued with dark side energy, I see no hint of dark side energy anywhere in this. And I feel like that stuff is just stuff they added after all this stuff was already decided on. Because, the world seems pretty normal, except, I guess just the different changes in Batman life. It's not like this is some gritty, dirty world with demons flying around and things like that. So that hype of the all in and this dark side energy being part of these worlds. I think that was way overblown. They should have just let these books stand on themselves, stand by themselves. And I think they would have done a lot better. And with the villain, is it the Black Mask? I'm not too keen on these villains, this Black Mask and the party animals. That just reminds me a lot of what's that? The Dark Knight Returns sort of vibe there, where it's just all on the news and you hear, how the world is falling or how the city's been falling apart.
Mhm.
And I'm glad they kind of even talked about Batman's age. What they said, he's about 24 in this here. But how the heck did he do everything here by 24? He's been like a
Yeah.
city worker, an architect, a pro football star, a genius, reading all, studying all these martial arts. Any one of those tasks would take like 10 years to do at least. But
Yeah.
somehow he's managed to accomplish like 50 of these tasks before 24 and still be freaking jacked
Right.
for anything else. But I do like his friends though, too. That little, the cast of characters is interesting in this too. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, when people were asking me what I thought about this, I just basically said that there's a lot to unpack. And I meant that in the best way because there's a lot here. There's a lot to kind of sink your teeth into. They went out of their way to obviously change a lot of characteristics of the character, as well as the things that are around him or the things that make Batman Batman, right? So I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, the Dragotta art was great, fantastic. I knew kind of what we'd be getting when it came to him. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about the book just because, Scott Snyder, even though he's written a lot of Batman, take it or leave it, like some of the things he's done, I haven't loved as much as other things. And, I feel like sometimes he doesn't necessarily stick the landing. And while this is early on in terms of the concept stage of Scott Snyder, where usually that stuff's pretty solid, I guess we'll see, how this book goes. But yeah, there's some really great stuff here. I did like the fact that some of the things that differed this character from the Batman we know is that his mother's still alive. His father's the only one who died in like at the zoo. And then that's the whole attraction to the whole bat kind of thing for Bruce, it seems like, because they had to run into the bat area, bat cave area, I guess, of the zoo when this all went down. And even like some of the way he fights, like he's definitely more tactical, like military, like he's military or something. The way he does shit in this, like and he's brutal, like he said, like he cut off a guy's hand in this. So like, and I what I like about it too is like it seems like he'd rather spend all that time, like you said, like mentioned, doing all that shit, learning all those things, being a jack of all trades, giving back to the city, like all of those skills, like he's learning in order to do right by this, like build houses and things like that. Like you said, like our city planner, all that, like like that's all things to help Gotham out that he strives to do as a result of like, which is the opposite because Bruce Wayne doesn't want to spend any time as Bruce Wayne as the other Batman. He wants to spend all his time being Batman. In this, he's like, yeah, I'll throw on the cowl if I need to, but it's not really like it seems like it like pains him to get involved in these sort of things. Like he doesn't really want to, right? So like
Yeah.
as much as he will resort to violence and he's a crazy fighter and he's got he knows how to use guns and everything else in this, he doesn't want to, like it seems like there's even like that moment where he's at the gym where it seems like he's being asked if he can kind of get involved in a situation and he's like, yeah, no, I don't really have time for all that. So I really liked that, and I liked how like how he uses his cape as a weapon, like the
Yeah,
whole
I was going
aspect.
to ask you about that there.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that cape got like some sort of like a Doctor Strange style there? Because it almost like he attacked some people with that cape.
Yeah, it must be like yeah, I don't know if it's like a tactile vest type of material or something. Like yeah, he's knocking people out with it, he's walking with it, like he's using like they keep putting all these panels of bats like hanging upside down in the way that they do stuff with their wings, and they're taking that very quite literally when it comes to the way he actually operates in this suit. So it's kind of interesting. Like I actually feel like it works quite a bit. Like I like some of the things that they chose to focus on, and the fact that he still has his mother in his life, again, a huge part of Batman as we know it, like of the Batman we're used to, is the death of both of his parents. But this is a guy who had still the love of his mother throughout his life, as opposed to having lost both of them. So what kind of individual does that make him as a result, right? So yeah, some very interesting things. I mean, I'm very excited to see where this goes. But there's a lot to take in with this issue. I actually been thinking about it for a couple days now because I've had the opportunity of a lot of people asking me what I thought about the book. So, like I mentioned, there's there's a lot to unpack here, but I think it's a lot of good stuff. And with Dragotta on art, I mean, I don't know how long we're gonna have him on here. Hopefully for the first arc where it said 1 of 5 at the very least, because I'm not sure if he's an artist that can keep up with the schedule if it's a monthly book, but we'll see. So, anything else you like about this though?
Well, I guess that little tease at the end with the Joker, and they're kind of explaining him. Joker's almost more like the Bruce Wayne of the, I don't know what they call the DC 616, but he's got all the money and he's got all the training from like the League of Assassins and all that sort of stuff. So they didn't really need to put that in there either. I would just more prefer they let this book stand alone on its first issue.
Yeah. But I'd rather them get it out of the way now, to be honest with you. Like if they're going to give us everything all at once in this issue and then kind of focus on on other things, let's say, I'm okay with that as well,
Yeah.
right? Because like you said, we've seen a million origins at this point. So if you're gonna info dump all that stuff in the first issue and give us some cool scenes like they did in this, and then move on, then I'm okay with it. It's if they're gonna draw it out over this whole first arc, I might have some problems with it, right? Where it's just like, okay, let's talk more about this aspect of this character. Because I feel like the main differences, let's say, were really presented in this issue. Like there might be more that we haven't seen yet, which is
Yeah.
fine, but like the big ones, I think the family, how he became Batman, it's all kind of covered here, right? So I think now it's you can really move away from this now and be like, okay, let's actually, this page was great. Let's really focus on like what's happening in this story now, right? So yeah.
I know, they got to get Batman killing somebody here. He's got to get rid of this. I don't kill people, because he seems to be happy to beat people with an inch of their life. Like, he cut that guy's arm off. Then he like freaking stabbed that guy with the batarang. Like, oh, and he just missed the artery by a millimeter or something. Like, come on,
Yeah.
kill people already. Be the Punisher.
Even when he met up with Alfred there, he shot him with his own gun that he repurposed
Yeah,
and made it so it's non-lethal, right?
sandbag or something.
But he still knows how to use guns, is what the thing. Like, and
Yeah,
you'll never usually see Batman shoot a gun. Like that's one of his things, right? So like the
yeah,
fact that he'll use a gun, but then they also had to go and say, oh yeah, well it's not really. He took the ammo out, and it's like he's shooting with beanbags or whatever. Who knows? But
yeah.
like, you gotta still have some aspect of we don't want just a straight
So
up
if he's
vigilante.
imbued with this dark seed energy, I think they can let him kill people here.
You would prefer him to go full Punisher in this one, okay?
Yeah, at least for a while. Maybe he could learn something down the road and say, okay, maybe I gotta ease it back.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, we'll see. I don't know. He cut off that guy's head, which is pretty brutal.
But that, if they want to shock us for an absolute Batman,
Yeah,
that would be something like right off the bat. It's like, holy shit, we're in for something
yeah,
totally different.
yeah, yeah. What'd you
But
give it?
still a good comic overall.
Yeah, what'd you rate this one?
I'd give it a 4. It didn't blow my socks off, but I am looking forward to what's coming up.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. 4 out of 5. It's a, yeah. I agree. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I can't stress this enough. It was really good, and I think the more I thought about it after I read it, it may even need a reread, to be honest with you, at this point before the next one comes out. But I have started to like it even more. But like upon the first read, yeah, a 4 out of 5, I would say it's solid, but yeah, I think we've seen too many false starts at this point to be like, oh yeah, this is the best thing ever. We'll see, we'll see
Yeah.
where this goes. We'll see where this goes. All right. Next up we got DC versus Vampires, World War V #5. Got this great cover here. I think Chris got the same one. If I know
Yeah.
yeah, cool
I
stuff.
just wish you could turn up that contrast or something there, but it's a great cover.
And then I got that one as the other cover here. But yeah,
Yeah.
what'd you think of this, Chris?
I like this one. I think it was all over the place, but it seemed to work this time for whatever reason. Like every 2-3 pages was a different story.
This opening
And
scene.
yeah, maybe that's what got me hooked into the book right off the bat. Got part of there with, I don't even know who that was, but
Mr. Miracle. Mr. Miracle, probably.
yeah, I have no idea who Mr. Miracle is in the DC world.
He's with
But
Marvel.
anyway, yeah, she's like, yeah, give it to me. Don't worry, I can take it. And I guess she does take it. She doesn't get turned into a vampire at the end of this little
No, no,
scene.
no. But
And then
but
he's just like,
but his bloodlust though is quickly expelled when he busts.
he's got that whole face there for sure.
She does tell him I can take it, and as
Yeah.
soon as he's finished up there, he's like, ah. I was like,
Great way to
whoa.
start. Great way to start.
I was like, what kind of comic am I reading here? What's going on?
I'm reading this about time. I see all these comic blurbs everywhere. I go, where are these comics nowadays? Now, good, I'm got into it.
Great way to start.
And then just going on, the stuff with Alfred and Wonder Woman, I thought was a good scene. But it seems that Alfred has Wonder Woman on the ropes, and then he just decides, "I'll take care of you later. I got other things to do." If you got Wonder Woman down and out, and she's the vampire Wonder Woman, you take your shot. You don't save that home run for another day. But anyway, it was still a good battle between them. And the way they're kind of talking. How she's warrior born, and then he's got his stuff to say of his life of service and how the sacrifices he made. That's good stuff. Yeah, just every kind of scene they went to seems to be all impactful. And then I don't know at the end what they show up there with Damian Wayne sort of in dire straits and somebody coming to talk to him. And do you think that's like a vampire Batman or that somehow overcome the lust or the bloodthirst? I don't know.
It would also have to be somebody that he wouldn't be offended by that's wearing the cowl, because at first he tells him to take off the suit,
Yeah,
and then he's like, oh, like kind of like, oh, it's you kind of thing, right? So I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
it's
I don't know who it could be like because I don't even know who's on the board anymore in the story. But
no. I really like this Batwoman scene too, where she expelled all that like light and destroyed a bunch of their enemies that were trying to kill him. And then, as a result of busting that light flare out, she ended up getting toasted too. Like
yeah, I'm like,
he
yeah. So
grabs
look,
her
I had
head.
to read that over 2 or 3 times. Like, what happened there? And then did
Yeah,
she really just die? And you fix when
yeah.
somebody's gonna bite it. They kind of make a big more of a hoopla about it, and it's just he just fades away. Like he just turns to dust. I'm like, whoa, wow, did that just happen? That's
But
a
that's why the scene worked really well, because
yeah, exactly.
she had her back turned to him and she's not saying anything. I'm like, yeah, she's died. And then like he went to like grab her hand and it just like flew, like it
Yeah,
just,
dust in the wind.
yeah. And I was like, oh no, right? So like that was pretty brutal. Like they lost a lot of people to try to protect him, right? And also, I noticed an artist error, it seems like, in this Constantine scene. There's a whole scene where his hands just floating. Like, like I think it was because they were trying to show like how he's doing all these fast hand movements. But if you
Yeah,
look in that first panel where you see him, his hands up here, and there's no actual separate layers. His hand is not connected to, sorry, his arm is not connected to his hand. So I think they slipped up in the art. I don't know, unless there's something I wasn't getting there, because it wasn't like he was going invisible. But I
yeah.
think I think they just missed. He messed up, like in terms of the
Speculative, watch out.
yeah, yeah. But that was cool too when he talked with Black Canary. I agree with you though. I really like the speech. My other favorite part was the Alfred speech about how he served all these people, and like you said, it was kind of like a whole kind of conversation about a low class, upper class kind of like stuff, and like how he deserves to actually have this ring because of all the people that he stood beside throughout the years of
Yeah.
serving as a Alfred does, right? So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens with this Batman thing. But I agree with you. Great issue, actually. I really like where we're at in this story, and there's a lot of fun things happening right now. So good stuff. What'd you give this one?
I would have to pop this maybe a 4.5, 4.25 easy.
Yeah, I go 4.25 on this one. Yeah, good stuff. Next up, Venom War Wolverine, Chris.
Oh yeah, it was a banger. Venom War Wolverine. Wolverine's stuck in I don't know where he's stuck with some old friend, and I guess this is supposed to be like one of these tales of you can change your destiny just because you're in a bad family doesn't mean you're a bad person. And behind the backdrop of this Venom War of this Venom symbiotes going all over the place. I can see the art there. They're really trying to do what they do best there. I know this is it with Tim
Kevin
Seeley and
Walker.
Flex. They're the writers, right? and this
Yeah,
Walker.
and Kev
Yeah, but
Walker.
their idea, they're always into these monsters and stuff like that. So you kind of get tastes of that when all those zombiotes kind of come up from the grave. And but the story, it's an okay story, but I was expecting more out of these guys. And just I don't know, more out of the story in general. I was hoping this one would be better. But
It's
I guess it's okay. You know, there's that whenever the other X-Men kind of jumped in out of the blue, I thought, okay, here we go. We're gonna hit this in a high gear. But then they just freaking split just as quick as they got there. So that was a bit of a bum rush.
yeah, this stunk. I'm sorry. I mean, I really wanted to like this. Like you said, it's the same team, Tim Seeley and what's his name there? What's the other guy's name? Tony Fleece
20 flat leak. Yeah.
from Local Man, which
Well,
we like so much. But
yeah.
yeah, no, this isn't connecting with me. This tie-in. I mean, you know, the story they're telling is fine, but it's just not that great. I don't know. And it really doesn't really have too much to do with the whole Venom War stuff. It's like very, like, you know, which is fine. Like these tie-ins don't. I think that's what makes some of these tie-ins great, where they're kind of little to the side, off to the side. But this isn't a very original Wolverine like storyline. Like, you know what I mean? Like even in terms of Wolverine stuff that I've seen, like, and you know, eh, and it's just all not all that interesting for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the Kev Walker art's fine. I like Kev Walker, but yeah. What'd you give this?
Yeah. It's 3.25.
Nah, I'd go lower on this. I'd say like 3. 2.75, maybe even
Oh,
verging on 3. I was just bored reading this. I didn't really care for it, but you know, yeah, I'll give it a 3. All right,
I'm
Chris.
starting to worry now when I see series with great covers.
Yeah.
Oh, that just means they're hiding something.
All right. Next up, something I didn't get around to reading here this week. You got a few coming up here that you read. Venom 38.
Or Venom 38. I don't know what the heck's going on in this series here. So this is still following, I guess, Old Man Venom. He's coming from his world here to try and save it, sort of like the Days of Future Past thing. And they're in some demon world, and I guess these demons are testing him. These two little kids are, I don't know, somehow he's in his whatever his Matrix world there. They got these monsters coming after him, and I think he decides to almost sacrifice himself to save these two kids, and that was the big test. And so the demons, I don't even know what they say to him. I think they offer him a chance to save his world if he does something. I don't even know what he had to do, but it's just all dumb. Like it looks good. It's a good read through, but I don't know. This doesn't need to. I want to see the Venom more stuff in the Venom comic. That's what I was talking about that earlier. Not this here. This could have been the whatever the tie-in, the tie-in series. You could have an Old Man Venom. The reason they probably didn't do that is because nobody be freaking buying it. But everything looks good. You got Old Man or whatever Old Man Venom. He's pretty a decent character. He got Strange. Should be better. But anyways, I give this a 3.5. I don't even remember what the cliffhanger was at the end.
It's weird because while you haven't liked the tie-in to the actual Venom War within the Venom main book, you like the actual event spin-off issues as well as some of the spin-offs that they've been doing more
Yeah,
so, right? It's weird that this should really be the anchor because it's the main Venom title, yet I
that's
guess
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I'm not even sure how this story fits into the Venom War. Like he's coming back from the future to there it is that Loki shows up. So maybe all of this is a dream somehow,
right.
or a mystery,
Yeah,
whatever.
he is a trickster. So yeah, okay. Next up, another one this one I looked forward to reading this week. I didn't have a chance, so Fantastic Four 26.
Yeah, this was another good issue. It's focused on Johnny Storm and Reed Richards. I think the family, I don't know, went trick or treating in New York or something, so they're just kind of sitting back at home. And Reed's, I guess, trying to learn about magic or see what he can do to kind of track down magic because Doctor Doom's a sorcerer supreme, so he's got some magic detector. And then he goes, "Oh, look at this! There's something in the basement." So they go down in the basement and they go, "Oh, it's right up right below us." And I don't know, they end up digging up this big hole there and pulling out all these rocks. And then freaking all these demons come out, or not demons or ghosts or something. And then they go, "Holy smokes!" And they start kind of throwing back all the rocks. and they think the problem's solved, but then they realize that these ghosts or whatever, they seem to consume the rocks, or I don't know what the story was there, but whatever mass they put in there sort of gets consumed to as the demons try and or ghosts try and break free. So then Johnny, there's some uh there's some skull that keeps on that's just randomly spitting out blood, and it's never ending. And they figure, oh, this would be a great solution to our problem. We'll just put that skull in there, and then as the blood just fills up, it'll keep that hole sealed, or whatever, the hell mouth or the port, whatever, they'll keep it sealed. So they got to go to, I don't know who they got to fight for this spitting or blood spitting skull. It sounds crazy, but it all works. It's a fun issue. And they kind of have that hole fixed up by the time everybody shows up, except of course the house has been trashed. So the thing's not too happy about that. And then there's always kind of some throw arounds there where those kids do show up in costumes. It's kind of funny seeing which kid is in what costumes. I think they have, what's that, Valeria or whatever her name is. She's wearing a Doom costume, which I guess,
She's the daughter. Yeah, she's
yeah,
technically
foreshadows some things. Wasn't she become like Doom of the world in some alternate universe somewhere along the line? I don't know. But it was a good story. And this Fantastic Four has been kind of growing on me, with all these one and done stories, but they've all been pretty good.
Mhm. What'd you give this?
I'm gonna 3.75.
Yeah, I'm gonna end up reading this after. I just didn't have time, but yeah, I've been digging Fantastic Four lately. So
Yeah, like even though the Gomez art, he could be suited to better things, but it still works for all this.
yeah. Speaking of really nice art, man, oh man, the Scorch number 34. I have no interest in reading this book, but when I was putting the art together, and I keep forgetting Steven Segovia is drawing this, I'm like, oh man, I wish I was reading this for his art at least. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah,
He's real good.
I basically I've been sort of in and out of this story, but this story got me hooked right from the beginning for all the wrong reasons. First, you have this blonde there. Yeah, boom. That's what it starts out with. This has been a good week for Cheesecake Comics. I feel like I'm back in the '90s again, where everything was great. And yeah, and they just played up, the whole whatever the whole monologue or the thing going on there is that she's dressed like this to stick out because that'd be the safest way. I think she's meeting up with Medieval Spawn's alter ego or something, and then she's wearing a costume, and even he's like, "Holy smokes, what the heck? What's going on here?" And then they kind of have some fun back and forth about the way she's dressed, and I think they're talking about what happened to Medieval Spawn and Haunt, and then there's a She Haunt or something. So they're all going back and forth. Then I think it ends up being Spawn and She Spawn or whatever her name is. They kind of have a little head to head or tete a tete, and she's saying, "I'm out of this. I'm just trying to save Medieval Spawn. Then I want to get out of here again." And she's been kind of singing that song for a while. So we'll see where that goes there. But once again, having a blonde She Spawn there, ooh, that was a treat and a surprise. 5, no, but it was a good comic for me. I enjoyed reading this one. I
Looks
give this a 4.
Yeah, it looks great. I listen, as much as I know you're enjoying him on this book. I leave the book, Steven Segovia. Go on to something
Oh,
I
I
read.
know. Come on, how much can they pay them? Can't freaking Marvel match what they're paying them? And
I know.
get them on freaking X-Men or
I know.
One
Well,
Penny X-Men or something.
he was doing Hellions. He was
Yeah,
on X-Men, right? So I don't know what happened there. I mean, they must have enticed him to come over to do that book for the Scorched, right? I don't know how, but money probably. All right, X-Force number 4, Chris.
yeah. I just read this one online. Kind of been following this. You got I think it's taking up from the last issue with is that the Nuclo, or I don't even know what that guy is, but there is a bit of a bait and switch. You start out, it looks like the whole team is freaking like knocked unconscious except for Tank. Tank flies up and attacks this Nuclo. And then in the next panel, everybody's all awake, chit chatting with each other. They spend all this time reading how they're all incapacitated. You don't even know if they're alive or dead. And then you got a few panels later, they're talking about the weather and everything, and they're all back together as a team. But anyway, somehow they end up in the Florida Everglades, through some magic. And there's some good scenes though, because with that, they run into the swamp thing there. Of course, he's the guardian of that nexus of reality, which somehow plays into this.
Man
And then,
thing, man thing, not swamp thing.
Oh, there's I said Swamp Thing. Wow, whatever. You're all in the same guy. They do the same thing. But anyways, Man Thing is there, and it looks like that Nuclo is going to be freaking just trash because the Man Thing just smashes him, and then like the Man Thing just kind of like goes like goes like kaiju size, I guess, and freaking just wipes him out, and then somehow that Nuclo, I don't know, another one shows up out of nowhere. I don't know how that figure. I didn't figure out how that happens. They merge, and then that one grows even bigger, then smashes the Man Thing, and then meanwhile, you got the exports there trying to figure out what they can do to stop this, this world shattering, earth shattering event. I don't think it came to a resolution at the end, but there's some good scenes in there, so that was worth a read. And they got all this stuff too, which I don't get. I know they're trying to push this with is it Captain Britain and Rachel? I don't know what they call her here now. I know she was a Phoenix at one point, but I guess they're supposed to be a couple, and they're all still, they're having their little sweet whispers to each other in the middle of all these battles. That's just all, you know, uh, I don't want to say appropriate, but not realistic. You're just getting whooped in the head. You've been knocked unconscious. You wake up. Oh, how are you doing? I'm off with a relationship. It's save that when I got a few minutes to breathe. Oh yeah, no, that's what happens at the end. These Avengers show up, and they're kind of like from a different reality, it seems, but they seem pretty interesting. So I'll probably read the next one too. I'd give this a 3.5.
Okay. All right. Next up, I got a few here I read. This week was the release of the Terminator #1, which is from Dynamite Comics. And I kind of just read this digitally on a whim. I'm a huge fan of the Terminator films, even like, the crappy ones. I've seen them all. I like this franchise. I've read a couple of Terminator comics, like older ones before. There's some decent stuff there. There's a good Walter Simonson drawn RoboCop versus Terminator comic from back in the day. That's pretty awesome. They even, I think, made a video game and stuff off of that. So, like, yeah, if you ever want to see a good Terminator comic, that's definitely one I would recommend if you're able to seek that out. But Declan Shalvey, who I'm a fan of, artist, writer, is writing this one. And I'm not familiar with the artist. His last name's Sparrow here. I don't know his first name. It says on the cover here. But for a Dynamite comic, because a lot of the time Dynamite has great banger covers, as you know, Chris, and garbage insides, I thought the art was pretty decent as far as the Dynamite comic goes. So I was pretty happy with the art. And you know what? This comic here wasn't that bad, actually. I didn't know how I felt about it when I first started it out. I didn't know where they were going with this title, if this was going to be tying into like the games, into the movies or something like that, which it wasn't the case. Basically, this issue was like a one and done story with the Terminator dropping in on some folks, as a Terminator tends to do, that he has to basically kill. And by the end of the issue, he succeeds. And throughout the issue, you basically learn who these folks are and their ties somewhat to this whole situation with the Terminator. Like you don't really learn too much about how they would have messed up the future and why like they're being hunted. But more so just how this Terminator has kind of haunted them throughout their lives. Like these two folks, I guess they ended up falling in love with each other, evading the Terminator the first time around, or they had fallen for each other, and then basically that Terminator situation happened in their past. They were able to get away from the Terminator. And at this point in the story, they've grown old together. They're very happy in their lives. Like it seems like they're living off of like, like on a little maybe island there, or like a beach house somewhere where like there's access to the water there, because the husband's out on the boat fishing. All of a sudden, the Terminator like comes up out of the water. I guess it like dropped in the water, and like when that big boom goes off, and they just basically are standing there. Like he somehow came up out of the water, and then all of a sudden he starts speeding across the water to get back to his wife, who's on the shore at their home, and tells her to destroy some papers that they had, and like to grab the guns and like and run away. And he grabs his shotgun and tries to take the Terminator out, and ends up getting killed. And he basically ends up, I think, taking them both out in this story. And you just basically learn a little bit about them, and the fact that they were at least able to grow old together while but as much as they thought they were going to get away, the Terminator finally tracked them down, right? And it seems like the next issue, they gave a little blurb about the next one, is going to be focused, it seems like, on a different person in like a different life or stuff. I don't know if they said he's like a soldier or something like that. So basically, it looks like these stories are all going to be possibly one and done things where the Terminator dropping in on somebody and you kind of learning a little bit about maybe about that person. And if it's anything like this first issue, then he might just be successful or not successful, and then they'll move on. So it kind of seems like what this, I don't know if this is a mini series or if it's just like, Declan Shalvey's telling like a story arc of this kind of stuff. But if this is the pacing of the rest of the series, I might actually continue reading it. It was pretty decent by the end of it, as much as I didn't know if I was going to like it or didn't know what to think of it at the start. But yeah, just nice, good one and done Terminator story where the Terminator is successful. And this is like, the bad Terminators. This isn't Arnold, making friendships with folks and like, defending them. This is what the Terminators are supposed to do, is track down people and kill them because they have, in the future, there's a reason why, that they ended up, somebody sent them back basically because they're messing up something in the future for them. So yeah, and then in the end, the Terminator like goes back into the water after he kills them both, and he like sinks into the water. So it was kind of cool. So yeah, I'll give this a 3.75 out of 5. It was fun. If you're a fan of the franchise, I think you would like this. So next up, I got Minor Arcana #2. Don't got the art up for this one, but yeah, this is just great. Some more Jeff Lemire goodness here. If you're a fan of Jeff Lemire, definitely you should be reading this comic. It's him writing and drawing it, and Jeff Lemire stuff when he's writing and drawing it has always got a bit of like a slice of life type of angle to it, as well as it's usually some supernatural sort of element. So yeah, in this one, like I mentioned last issue, it's a girl that went back to her old town, is not really on great of terms with her mother, who she's staying with. And one of her customers at her old like palm reading kind of like a business, basically she does like palm reads and like and this type of stuff, tarot card stuff. Her mother wasn't able to do it, like she's not well enough to take on this appointment. So the woman's like, yeah, can you do can you do it for me? You're her daughter, you must know what you're doing. So when she went to place out all the tarot cards and do her palm reading and all that kind of stuff, like she got transported to like another time and place. It seems like only in her head, or that she went somewhere, because she's still present like in the room. And then she met this person that turns out to be the ex-lover of the woman that she's doing like the card reading for, like, and she's like in the afterlife all of a sudden. And he says he lets her know, tell her I'll be waiting for her, kind of thing. Like when she passes, I'm here, like in this basically like, I don't know, like purgatory or like crossroads without moving on to the next life of, because I'm waiting for her, right? And she's my true love or whatever. So when she comes back too, and the woman's like, "Oh, what happened?" Like she didn't know where she was for a moment. She's like, "Did you see something, or like, is there something you need to tell me?" Whatever. And she's just so pissed off that she's a part of this, that she didn't want to be involved with all of this stuff with her mother, and she's freaked out. She's like, no, I didn't see anything. Get out of the store. Like, I don't want anything to do with you. Like, leave. And the woman's just like weirded out, doesn't know what went down. So she leaves. And the mother comes out and she has an argument with her. And her mother's like, did you see something? Like, what's going on with you? And she's like, screw you. I shouldn't have come back here. This was a mistake. And she kind of storms out. And she ends up back in the bar, and she's been off the wagon at the start of this story. So she ends up back in the bar, and she had already had a scene in the bar in the first issue where she went for a drink. And the bartender, she's like, oh, you need something? And she's like, yeah, let me get a drink. And she's sitting there with the drink, and she's like, no, never mind. I don't want this. She comes back again. The bartender's like, oh, you changed your mind? And she's like, yeah. And she pours her a drink, and she goes to drink it. So she's now going to be off the wagon again. So I don't know what the hell's going to happen from here on out. So yeah, but it was good. Another chapter in this story. Second issue in, I'm really enjoying what he's doing here. I'd give this, I give this a 4 out of 5. There's not too much here that happened in this issue, but enough that I really just like Jeff Lemire and I like what he does. So if you're a fan of his stuff, it's some good stuff here. So 4 out of 5 this week for Minor Arcana. And next up, we got Public Domain #9. Just read this one digitally as well. I've stopped picking up the physical issues. This is still pretty good as well, though. This is basically now the company that they formed go to a Comic Con. And again, because this is kind of like very inside baseball type comic, there's a lot of things if you've been to a Comic Con that they kind of comment on or that they show in this issue that you can kind of, like with the panel, you can relate to and kind of identify with. And basically, the big thing of this issue is they go to the Comic Con. They have competing panels that their competitor there, now that it's public domain, and his partner there that he split from the artist that created this character is also doing his own version of the domain character, Chris. He chooses to run a panel at the same time as him. So a whole bunch of people show up at the artists, the creators panel for their new comic company, like the main central characters in this story. And they're looking happy, things are looking good. People are at the panel. All of a sudden, like somebody comes into the panel, it's like, oh, that other panel with the other domain comic or whatever, they have this star that's going to be filming in the domain, the starring in the domain movie or whatever, that just showed up as a surprise guest to the panel. So then like 3/4 of the panel like just get up to leave because they actually have this movie star at the panel. So and they're like, oh, what the fuck? Like he screwed us, right? And that guy's got like a lot more money because they're like a startup and stuff, this other company. And so then the son of the artist who's involved with the writing of this comic goes to the panel and sees this and jumps on one of the mics and starts talking shit to him at the panel, like starts bombarding him, like you couldn't just give him this, like you piece of shit, like you had to screw with my father again, blah 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 blah. And then this causes like a big uproar and a scene at the panel, which later on translates to a bunch of fans coming to their booth when they're doing a signing the next day because it made news that somebody bombarded the panel. So it actually worked out in their favor. And the son's at the at the signing, and he's actually able to sign his first comic because he's involved with this comic now, and he kind of actually feels really good about it. He's like, wow, look, I'm an actual writer, because the whole story has been about how he's a failed writer who hasn't been able to publish a book, and here he is at a Comic Con being able to finally sign his name to something that he was responsible for. So yeah, so it's really good character moments, really good story. I'm liking it still. And the big thing at the end of this issue was that the creator of this domain, he's been having hard times with his wife lately, who ends up showing up to the Comic Con to see him, and he accuses her of cheating on him. The reason why like things have been rough between them with his competitor, the other guy that he used to be, that's at the other comic company. And she's like, no, I never cheat on you with him. You're wrong. And then all of a sudden, the woman who's basically the editor that's running his company now, that he also used to work with, and she used to work with his competitor, walks in, and it seems like the wife and that woman have had a fling on the side that he wasn't aware of. So yeah, those things are gonna get sticky now because he's now working with this editor woman who apparently has caused a rift in his marriage with his wife. So I don't know what's going to happen moving forward now. It's because it was kind of like when he came to the realization in the last page, he's like, oh, and they're all just standing awkwardly in the room together. And I'm just like, oh, this isn't good. So yeah, I liked it. 4 out of 5 for this as well. I'm really enjoying this story. All right, Chris, Geiger number 7.
Yeah, this is another action-packed issue. The only thing I didn't get is to know where it starts out, and it says it's 25 years from now. Is that like 25 years from when the last issue took place, or
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. That's a
is it
real good.
supposed to be like 25 years? Because like it doesn't seem like anything's changed. Like there's
No.
no indication that they're 25 years in the future. You know, he's still traveling with the same guy. But anyways, besides that part, that's the only thing that sort of threw me. The story is great. You know, they're still doing what they do, they're roaming through the towns, and I think he runs into uh, some of his old, or what's the knight's name? Nathan or something?
I think so. Yeah, I always forget.
Yeah. Anyway, so Nathan, all right. Well, the knight runs into some of his old compatriots, let's say,
Yeah.
and you know they sort of turned into assholes. But he remembers that one guy was at least a decent guy before things, I guess, went sideways for him, or before he went out there on the hunts here. But you know, Geiger anyway toasts him anyways, and
Yeah.
you know, so that's how I also kind of enjoy those scenes where they still got to do what they got to do, and yeah, this just, and then they kind of go back to a scene where Some people are getting attacked by some mutant bugs. That just reminds me right out of Fallout, which I don't mind at all. That's a game I enjoyed playing, and seeing it play out like this, on Geiger, I don't mind that one bit either. So I thought this was another good issue.
Yeah, I agree with you. I got nothing really else to add. I just wanted to ask you, did you notice that there was an artist change for this issue? That it's not Gary Frank on art on this one. It's Paul Pelletier on art on this issue. I thought actually he did a good job, but there was some moments where some of the faces didn't look like the characters that we're used to seeing in this story, and I think that's a result of the artist change. But did you notice at all that it was a different artist for this one?
Not particularly. I noticed a zebra. That's about it.
Yeah, I only noticed towards the end of the issue, and then I was like, wait a second, like, is this Gary Frank? And then I looked, and it was like, oh no, this is actually another artist, and now I guess that's stepping in for this new arc of this story, which I'm totally fine with because I think he did a good job. I guess some faces that of the characters, like the way certain like they, because even if you look at that last panel here on this page, like it does not look like the character normally looks like Geiger. Like it's a little
Yeah,
different.
Tariq or whatever. He's not all
Tariq.
all
Yeah.
glowing.
Yeah. Like it's a little different, but still a good job. So like I'm not bothered by it at all. If that's what kind of keeps this story going and on a monthly schedule, I'm okay with it. Another really good chapter. And yeah, that guy shows up at the end. Like it looks like the leader of his group, which he ended up killing his, did he say his wife or something? Or I think he said that Tariq killed somebody close to him or something, and that's why he's been hunting him essentially now, right? I think
Yeah,
he
but either way, it sounds like they're gonna gather their forces, to try and get the glowing man or Geiger. So
right.
that's good to see. When the enemy's sort of banding together to try and fight the guy.
Absolutely. What'd you give this?
I give it a 4. I enjoyed this one a lot.
I go 3.75 on this one, but I'm still really enjoying it a lot. Yeah. Next up, we got Transformers number 13, Chris, which also saw a new artist change for this one. Two arcs, two different artists, and then as we go into the third arc here, we got Jason Howard on art on this one. What'd you think of this, Chris?
Well, as for the artists go, I think they're still keeping the same sort of vibe. Like, I'm not familiar with this artist, so I don't know if these artists are kind of changing their style to fit this scene. But I guess when you're drawing robots and all that, it's a bit easier to change your style.
Yeah,
It's. But as for the story, I thought it was a good story. I think it's more of an origin story of Starscream.
yeah,
It sort of makes sense. I like seeing I forget what that guy's called. Is that like Omega Prime or something? I
yeah.
remember the toy. It was a giant toy. I never had it, but I think you could get batteries for that toy or something.
Oh wow.
But anyway, because I think the thing would be like, all those wings that he had, that turns to a track, and then that robot would drive around the track. But anyways, the only thing I didn't like about this is that trope where all these bitter enemies on these giant worlds were all friends as kids or something, or as I guess whatever before this Cybertron war broke out, which I thought has been going on for thousands and thousands of years. And it seems like Jetfire and Starscream were tight buddies, and then I guess Optimus Prime kills one of his friends, and that's what leads Starscream to join the Autobots or join the Decepticons. Sorry. And this scene here at the end where it kind of goes back into the real world, just seeing a hiss tank there. I'm not sure who that guy was supposed to be, but just kind of seeing this sort of starting to get merged back into the real world, and might get some ideas what's going to be happening in GI Joe. More of this Energon universe stuff was really interesting, and I think they're rolling it out. They're just giving us little bites and nibbles of it, but that's enough for me right now. So I thought that was pretty good stuff.
Yeah, agreed. I think those are really good scenes. I did like how they're linking it up into the current day events while also giving us, like you said, the Starscream origin. Apparently, this is part of a two-parter where they're kind of delving more into the character Starscream, which is cool. I mean, I feel like after the first two arcs, where you've just been giving us 12 issues of this ongoing story, it gives them a little bit of time for a couple of issues if they want to go and tell a side story. I
Yeah,
think that's appropriate at this point. And I mean, unlike other Image books, they know what they have here because this is a licensed property. And I can appreciate that they've actually still been putting this book out on time, because a lot of the Image titles, of course, sometimes between arcs will take a couple of months off because of the artists. But in this book, they've continued to put on different artists throughout. And they've all been pretty consistent. I mean, yeah, you start off strong with DWJ. I thought the last artist, he grew on me towards the end of the time, his arc on the book, and I really like Jason Howard. He's done a lot of work for Image as well. And like you said, when it comes to the Transformers bit, he's kind of looks similar to everybody. But then, with that bit with some of the Joes or whatever, like the more human characters that you see, you get to see his style a little bit more in those scenes, like how he kind of draws people. And I'm
Yeah.
all on board for that. So I think the book looked great. And I don't think it lost again, I think they're doing a good job of bringing on new artists while not really dropping the look or of the title like in any way. So yeah, good stuff. And yeah, I like the Starscream story so far. Good stuff. I thought it was a good issue. So I'm really looking forward to see now when they start the GI Joe ongoing series how this book is going to run alongside with it. Because
Yeah.
as far as I know, I think those are just going to be the two main things. And with Void Rivals, like they're not doing any more of these spin-off
Yeah, I
like
hope
mini
not.
series. So which I'm okay with. So what'd you give this?
I might have to throw another 4 out here. At least we had some good comics this week.
Yeah, I agree with you. This was a really good issue. Yeah, I go 4 out of 5 on this one. Yeah. All right. Next up, speaking of the little mini series here that have been going on, the conclusion of Scarlet with Scarlet number 5 here. What'd you think of this?
I don't know if this needed to be a 5-issue series when you see how everything plays out in the end. What do you got? Scarlet, is it Jinx and Storm Shadow? They're at the end level boss game. They're trying to figure out who gets the sword, and then I guess Cobra breaks in, and then they all have to kind of scram. So that was okay. I like seeing what's her name, Scarlet, and the Snow Job. That's
Jinx,
the secret
Jinx,
agent.
Jinx is one of them, and
Yeah, but once they kind of split up, then
oh
Scarlet
yeah,
has to get her info out of the scene, and she has to explain that she's going to be staying. I forget what they call this place, Armitage or Architage or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce
Arshikaj,
it.
Arashanikaj, or whatever.
Yeah, come on. Can't you give us an easier word to say when I'm reading this? Spend half the time tournaments trying to sound out that word. But and I'm probably pronouncing it wrong anyways. But the art's great. The story's it's moving along. This could have been a 4-issue series. And then at the end, I don't know if that's a big deal, but it looks like Storm Shadow takes over their little dojo. And it's good seeing what's that Cobra Commander come in, but
Yeah,
if they're going to show them, they need more of an impactful scene there. It looks like kind of they just popped him in there
yeah,
just for more of a cameo appearance.
yeah. Yeah, agreed. I agree with you. This could have been like, like a bit shorter. I mean, this could have also been just a story that they told in the pages of GI Joe for that matter. But listen, I've enjoyed these miniseries for the most part. I think there's been some really good stuff out of these. And yeah, I mean, like the fact that they're connecting all the dots by bringing in, like you said, with the Cobra Commander part, the whole set up with the way they ended this issue with him having the sword and going back to his group there. Storm. Yeah, there's some really good moments throughout, and I am really very much looking forward to the start of this GI Joe ongoing series now as a result of these. So again, I think we have one more issue of the other one, or did that one just end? I can't remember. The Destro was one more issue,
I
right?
think that's out here. I think that was that
Next,
Destro 4 or 5. I don't
I
know.
think it was 4 last week, right? I think, or is it 5 next week? I know it's coming out soon, or it has just come out. We may have talked about it next week's last issue.
Yeah.
So here's my power ranking. I don't think this is going to change with the one issue of Destro to go in terms of the miniseries that you need to check out. I'd go Duke, Cobra Commander, Scarlet, Destro. That's my ranking for the miniseries.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, right, yeah. I think we're on the same page there.
Yeah.
So
Duke is a good one to read. And the Cobra Commander one, that got kind of wacky, but it was, a good history of Cobra Commander. Yeah. Yeah. God, I agree with you there.
all right, so ratings on this issue.
Oof. I'll give it a 3.75. I guess that sword is like some energon source or something. That's what Cobra was after. So that was a good twist.
Yeah, 3.75 as well. I would say that for like the whole miniseries too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Next up here, the Ultimates number 5.
Ooh, got the A
Oh,
cover here.
nice cover. Yeah,
That's nice. These ultimate covers are pretty good. They seem to
yeah,
be kind of going on with the theme at the 4 in the back there. But yeah, this was a good issue here. I can't complain with the way this ultimate storyline has been playing out. I think this was an introduction of Hawkeye. and it's not the Hawkeye you see me. I guess they explained that they tried to get the original Hawkeye to come on board, and he denied them, or he denied the request. And they just, what are you going to do? You can have all this high tech information or a high tech suit, and you just throw it in the garbage, and that's it. And some guy just
Well,
happened to walk by and pick it up. Is that what happened?
yeah, well, that's what I kind of like about it, because if you look in the monitor, they show like the Spider-Man No More cover where he
Yeah,
throws his costume in the garbage, and
yeah. But
it's
Spider Man's costume is just some spandex. This is some $1 billion high tech, whatever arrow generating machine.
yeah, that's true.
But anyway, I thought that was a good point. And then anyway, I guess you got, Captain America and this Hawkeye. They're battling. Looks like they have some outside or conflicting ideologies. So that was an interesting twist to their battle. And of course, it's that troop of two heroes coming together and not being able to just talk it out when they're really on the same side. But I guess I don't know what these enemies are called here. The Makers Council sends in some team there to clean up, or the Rocks on, I guess, the elite
Yeah,
forces there.
Rock's on.
They're there to, I don't know, I guess, clean up the mess there and take these guys out. They realize they have to fight together. And, there's some good lines there. I think when Captain America, is your name really Hawkeyes? And then that guy goes, you stupid white people, you believe anything.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was a good line out of that.
Yeah, because she's like Native American or Aboriginal or whatever, and they say that yeah, hey, is your spirit name really Charlie Hawk's Eyes? Because that's why she had said that it's like that's why it's meant to be hers and not the other person's, right? Yeah, I like that line. Yeah, you stupid white people believe anything. That was good. I love this issue. I thought this issue was wonderful. I love seeing him trying to outmaneuver all of her special trick arrows. I love how they went through like 20 special trick arrows during
Well,
this
I like that
battle.
with Captain America, where he kind of just said enough of this garbage, and he goes, "I'm going to go full out on you. I'm just trying to talk here, and
Yeah.
you're hitting me with all this stuff. I'm just trying to talk here. You're hitting me with sonic arrows. Like, come on."
Yeah.
And he's
Well,
like, "Okay, here, boom."
he was kind of trying to test her to see what she was made of, I feel like, during this scene,
Yeah,
right? Like to see like if she was really the person that, and then that's why when the rock sign people showed up and they fought them, he's like, okay, are we good to go here? Like, you know what I mean? He's
yeah,
just like, you passed the test, like kind of like, yeah, come on now. Like, and he's actually the one that was saying to Iron Man, that she should be the one. I feel like because he was like, oh, I've been running the numbers and this shouldn't work and blah 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 blah.
yeah. She's like in the 10th percentile of villain.
Right.
But yeah, that was a good issue. I like the one too.
This series is really growing on me. I really like this series now. I think it's really good. It started off slow, but I'm really liking the direction of this book right
Yeah, and whatever, they got Hulk at the end there. I'd like to say he's going, okay, I'm going to take care of business, and that's just going to be bonkers once Hulk gets involved.
now. Yeah. So, what'd you give this?
I'll give this 4.25. I like it
Same.
more than what we talked about it.
Solid issue. Yeah, absolutely. All right, and last book of the week here, Amazing Spider-Man number 59. And one more issue to go of this series of Zeb Wells' run on it. Great fight issue. What'd you think of this, Chris?
No, you can't complain about the action in this issue,
No.
and I can't complain about the John Romita Jr. art. Which I know I've been bagging on a lot, but this is stuff that he's suited for. It looks like he took his time with this,
Exactly.
and I thought it was just great. Just the battle between them. It seems like Tombstone's almost happy to be able to go like full out. Once again, I don't think Spider-Man's going full out there, but he's trying to save, I guess, Tombstone just from himself. Tombstone is hell bent on killing his daughter, and I think near the end, basically, Spider-Man says, "Look, man, once you kill your daughter, there's no coming back from that. I'm trying to save you." And I guess Tombstone's still hell bent, still full of bloodlust or whatever. Thinking he's the lion's got to kill his young or something. But I hope there's a big showdown in the end, and it doesn't turn out to be, oh, Spider-Man, you were right. Thank you for taking me back from the edge. I hope he's either got to put him down, and it seems like he puts him down here a few times, but Tombstone keeps on getting back up. So I thought it was a great issue, though.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I'm like, I know we've bagged on JR's art sometimes throughout this run, but this is where he shines. Like, and I've always said it. I'm like, why you have this guy on an issue where people are just standing around talking? Like, that's not the type of artist that he is. That he's better. He's well suited for, and he's a great storyteller. Great fight sequence, which is majority of this issue. Like the whole issue, they just get into like a crazy throwdown here, and yeah, like you said, there's some great moments. Like and like for instance, like when he hits him with the light post from behind, you feel it. Like you
Yeah.
see his like body jerking forward when he's exhausted and beat into a pulp at the end, and he like falls to the side and slumps over, and they're both just like laying there. You feel that. Like it's very cinematic, this issue. Like it just I could see this fight like the way, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm sure you can put this to a storyboard for a fight sequence in a great action movie.
Yeah.
That's how great this issue in terms of the action sequence was. It's just really great stuff. And yeah, he like cracks his hands, and then he like cracks them back. Like he grabs his hands, and he's like, "Oh, you're
Yeah.
afraid to like get
Yeah.
him."
Just good scenes all around. I love that part too.
Yeah, that was nuts, right? Like he messed his whole hands up, and then Tombstone just like cracks him back, like after breaking his hands, like Spider-Man,
Yeah.
because he's like, "You're afraid to go there," and he's like, "Yeah, okay, for you, I'll make an exception." He like breaks his fucking hands, which is hard because like he must have been giving them full strength because he's Tombstone. Like how
Yeah.
hard his skin right must be, right? And like this guy just breaks his and like you said, and then they bring it right back around at the end, and you have a very Spider-Man moment where he's like, "No, you don't realize, like, I'm not trying to save her. I'm trying to save you. Like, you can't come back from killing your daughter." And then he knows he's right. It seems like he has that expression on his face at the end, but he's so brutally beaten. And I love the look of the scratches across his eyes at this moment,
Yeah.
like that he had from his
Yeah.
daughter.
Busted lens and all that stuff. That's just great.
Great stuff all around. I just a great last issue, and well, with one more issue to go, which I'm sure it's just going to deal with the fallout of whatever has occurred during this arc. But I'm so glad that the book ended on this arc with Zeb
Yeah.
Wells'
For
run,
sure.
that more so than the last one, which he said was supposed to be his end, and
Oh
then
yeah. That ended on that run. This is almost redeeming a bit of the Zeb Wells run here.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, solid issue all around. I really like this, and yeah, I honestly one of the best issues I think of JR on this run. He did a great job here. So
Yeah.
we got to give credit where credit's due on that one. So what'd you give this?
Yeah. Let's give it a 4.25. For Spider-Man, this is like a 4.75, but just regular comics, I'd say 4.4,
I
4.25.
I'd say 4.25 on this one. Yeah, verging on 4.5 honestly for me. I thought it was a great issue. So all right, that's everything that we read this week that we wanted to talk about here. Chris, what are you looking forward to picking up next week?
Okay, let me just load up some things here and see what we got going on.
Big week for me next week, it looks like.
Oh, I know. Oh, I need another big week. So let's see. Next week, Ultimate Spider-Man 10. Looking forward to that. I'll probably read the Uncanny X-Men 4. I might start picking that up again. I don't know. They got that Gray Malkin or that raid on Gray Malkin and some X-Men versus Avengers in the works. Wolverine 2, I'm picking up. Spider-Man Reign 2, looking good there. That cover looks sick. I'll probably read the Avengers Assemble. And that might be it for Marvel. I'm probably read the Mystic Hunters and Blood Hunters 3, just because I've been reading that. What the heck did I and let's see what's going on with DC. Batman 154, Nightwing 118. Is this the end of this yet or what? There
Yeah,
is a final issue,
last
finally.
issue. Last issue.
Waiting years for that. Um, let's see, where else was I? I'll probably take a look at that World's Finest. The Wonder Woman 14. I've seen some previews. It looks good there. It gets the introduction of, I think, Trinity or whatever. She gets consummated or born or something in this issue. I got that baby variant cover.
Okay.
What that's about. Catwoman 69. Seen some previews of this. I think, they have some Frank Cho covers that look great. And now I think it's going to my conspiracy there with the better the cover, the worse the issue. And I think those are some pretty good covers, so that doesn't bode well for the issue. Maybe I'll see what's going on this Batman and Robin year one. And then maybe that Dark Knights of Steel all winter, maybe catch up on that. And maybe the Jenny Sparks too. I kind of fell off on those issues. And what's going on with Image. Yeah, Destro 5, Local Man 25. Looking forward to that. I don't know. Maybe I'll read this Witchblade. We'll see what that's going on there. That's about it from Image. I don't know if Dark Horse has anything. I know they got a lot of Miller books, but
They do, Chris, next week. It's the return of Where Monsters Lie, Cul-de-sac, number
oh,
one.
okay. Well, yeah. Did that kind of slip through our solicitations? I don't remember us talking about that.
Yeah, we didn't cover it because sometimes we don't cover some Image or Dark Horse if
Yeah,
we don't find there's many new things to talk about. But I guess it was on us. We missed that one. Yeah.
yeah. And this Jupiter's Legacy, is that supposed to be anything good? Like I've heard some of that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like there's a TV show. This is like the third in a series, I believe. Or
Yeah, so there's Jupiter's again another Mark Miller book. It had Jupiter's Circle and Jupiter's Legacy, and this I think is the finale of like the stories that
yeah,
he's telling in that world essentially. So I'll be checking that
maybe I'll
out.
take a look at that.
So yeah, those two were Monsters Lie, Cul-de-sac, Jupiter's Legacy for sure. Jupiter's Legacy, I think I've got the first issue pre-ordered, which is weird because normally I just pick up the trades of Mark Miller stuff, but I'll be reading that. You got Prodigy, Slaves of Mars, which is another Mark Miller book. He's got 3 books coming out next week, so yeah, a lot of that stuff to talk about next week. I caught up on that Prodigy book. I talked about it on the last episode that came out. Image, like you said, I'll check out Local Man. Um, what else we got here? Falling on the Path in Love on the Path to Hell, number 5. I think I've dropped that now, but I might, still read it digitally. Local Man comes out. Uh, and then Marvel, I'm just looking at things I'm reading digitally right now, possibly next week. Marvel, I'm not too sure if there's many things I'll be reading digitally next week. Uh, no, maybe if there's any no, I don't think so. I think everything in Marvel I'm picking up. But the things I'm picking up next week, issues of Big Week, Batman 154, Batman and Robin Year 1, number 1, which is Mark Waid and Chris Somney. Very much looking forward to that. Batman Superman World's Finest, Destro number 5, the conclusion of that, Jupiter's Legacy finale, as you mentioned. We just talked about Mystique number 1, which is a Mystique miniseries coming out from Marvel. Speaking of Declan Shalvey, like I did today, that he's writing and drawing that one. Nightwing 118, the finale of that. Very much looking forward to that. Spider-Man Reign 2, number 4. Ultimate Spider-Man, number 10. Ultra Mega, number 6. Uncanny X-Men, number 4. Wolverine 2 and Wonder Woman 14. So yeah, some great stuff next week it looks like. So hopefully it's a good week. This week was a good week, and let's talk about, Chris, what is your favorite book of this week?
I don't know, a lot to choose from this week, but I'm gonna go stick with DC versus Vampires, World War.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. You're right. There's a lot to choose from this week. Ones that were in the mix for sure.
All good ones in the mix, and there's a lot of ones that aren't usually in the mix too.
I
So
know. Absolute Batman, that was good, but I don't think I'm going to give it to that ultimately.
it's not
Uh,
definitely not the best of the week.
no.
It's good though.
Yeah, it was good
Most hype of the week for sure.
for sure. Honestly, right now I'm thinking for me, it's gonna be between Ultimates and Spider-Man. And you know
Ooh.
what? I might have to give it to Spider-Man. I really liked this
Oh,
issue. Yeah. And it may be one of the last chances I get to give it to Zeb Wells' run on Spider-Man. It's been a while. But yeah, I got to give credit where it's due. Like I said, JR, I think absolutely just killed the action sequences in this issue. And for that reason, almost alone, I'm going to give this one the edge over the other books this week because I think he just did a great job and it was a great use of his art. And like I said, they simultaneously not only had a great fight scene in this issue, but also brought it back to a very Spider-Man moment in the sense that he was like, yeah, I was talking about you this whole time, as he always looks out for other people in
yeah,
that sense. So I really liked that. The impact of the moment, while yeah, you could see it somewhat coming from a mile away, I think was not no less, like, you know what I mean, like, well received, like, as a result of that. Like, I was like, you know what, that was really well done. And yeah, I liked it a lot. So I got to give it to Spider-Man this week. But Ultimates, honestly, right there with it. Ultimates, I thought was a great issue this week as well. And both really good fight sequences in both of these issues, right? So, I mean, it's okay to have fights in comics, guys. This is comic books, right? You don't always have to have all this, like, other crap going on. I feel like it's not very much that we get these days where it's just a whole issue of fighting, right, Chris? Like, it's almost like, it's everything else. It seems like all the buildup that we get and not a lot of payoff. So in these issues of this week, there is quite a few good examples of that, I would say. So yeah, give it up to Spider-Man 59 for my favorite of the week this week. So there you go. All right. That's going to do it for this week, guys. Stay tuned next week, episode 150. And yeah, it's a big week of comics and looking forward to that. As always, talk about comic books with Chris. Make sure you like and subscribe. And yeah, as I mentioned, have a good Thanksgiving weekend if you're celebrating in Canada. And we'll see you next week. Thanks, Chris.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving. Talk to you later.
Later.